Hey, ladies and gentlemen, how you doing today? Hope you're good, hope you're well. We've got a surprise stream for you today. I know it's a little bit late for some of you in the Philippines, but we wanted to cover something today, and we've even got a special guest joining us. So, I hope you're ready. I hope you're good. And we're going to talk some Axie today. Can you guess who's joining us? Maybe I'll give a prize out if you can guess who's coming on stream in a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It's so good to be back. I miss streaming. We've been so busy recently. We just haven't had the time to really get into the decent streams and to cover everything. And that's going to change. We're coming back. We're going to have a proper streaming schedule. We're going to do things. We've been still streaming, but there's just been so much going on. So what I want to do is I want to take it back a step today. Let's go back to the roots. Let's go back to our origins. Let's go back to where we started. And let's take a look. In fact, let me just flip the camera straight away and let's look at a website that you should all be familiar with if you're playing Axie. This website is called Axie.tech, and the reason that this website is so important is for two reasons. One is the team behind it. I have always said that when you're involved in a project, you have to get behind the team. You have to find the good teams. Axie.tech have got an incredible team. You've got Best, you've got Rare, you've got Amy, you've got so many others. But they're great people building amazing things. And so I wanted to use this today as an example about the Origin launch for Axie. And I thought it would be really cool for me to walk through this and talk through this and look at this. But it would be even better if I was to say, hey Best, how you doing? And if he was on stream.
Hey Steve, can you hear me?
I didn't know if I could hear you there, mate. How you doing, buddy? How's things?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. I'm very tired. We're all quite tired, but excitement is high.
You must be, because you don't stop. Like I don't think you even know what sleep is anymore. You've been building for the last 6 to 12 months pretty much consistently. And it's not like you're just throwing out crap. It's not like you're just building for the sake of building. Like, you're building high-end, beautiful tools that just really are becoming like a cornerstone of the Axie community. Like, everybody I know uses either your card explorer, or they've used your breeding tools, or they've used, you know, when you had your price explorer that people use. I haven't used the website in a while, I'll be honest. I haven't played. But there's just so many tools that you've had available. And yesterday or the day before, I kind of took a bit of a dive into what you've been building, and I'm blown away. Like, what you've done is absolutely amazing. So yeah, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you so much
to you and the team, to everyone. How many are there in your team now? I'm curious.
There's four core partners in Axie Tech. It's myself, Amy, Rare, and Lev.
Yes.
But then we've got lots of other people that work with us. We've got a couple of people that have just agreed to work with us that we haven't announced yet. So I'm not going to give away who they are, but they're absolutely people that you guys will know from the Axie community. Nice. We've got a couple of amazing guys from the Philippines that help run our guilds as well. So Jeff and Stella, who were kind of OG scholars of mine from kind of like a year ago, and have just been, you know, on the whole journey with me. And as the site has grown from what started really as a hobby site into what it is now, you know, we've all just sort of ridden that roller coaster together. But no, I think in terms of the tools and everything that we've created, you know, Amy has to take the absolute lion's share of all the credit. She is, I think she's the best web developer in the Web3 gaming space, hands down. I think very easily. I don't think many people would disagree with me on that. Not just in terms of the quality that she produces, but the speed that she works at, the level of professionalism that she works at. So I mean, you know, I've had a 15-year software engineering career through many different companies, and I've worked with lots and lots of developers, and Amy is really up there with the best that I've ever worked with.
Nice.
I really do rate her that much. But in terms of the tools that we produce, we've always had a very strong sort of mantra, in the sense that we never ever want to try and produce things that somebody else has done. And there are lots of other great tooling sites around that have made some really cool tools that we kind of thought, oh damn, we wish we thought of that one. But we don't, we're not intending to just replicate it and kind of try and take eyes off of their tools. We'd rather try and focus on things that people haven't done yet, so that we can just add value to the wider community. And I think one of the tools that people are really using a lot at the moment is we just released a team builder tool, like an Origin team builder tool. So you can create like this hypothetical dream team, right? So you can pick whatever 3 axes you want. You can pick whatever cards or whatever parts you want on those axes. And then we will work out the potential points that will be on each axis based on what parts you've chosen. And then you can pick what charms you want to put on, and we'll kind of calculate, how many potential points you've got left to do that with. And you can also add whichever runes you like to whichever axes. And you can also share, once you've built that, you can then share a link to it with other people. And so loads of people are using this at the moment to kind of, theory craft and create their ideal V3 builds and share them with their friends and say, hey, look at this one. I've got a really cool idea for a build.
I mean, it's just looking at it right now, just the UI alone is just so clean and so easy to use. And you've really kind of thought about everything as well, you've covered every angle. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. When you find those rare people who are just absolute gems in a sea of noise, the Amy's of the world, then yeah, you do everything you can to support them, to look after them, and to make them shine, right? Because when they are in their flow, this happens as a result, and it's amazing. Like, I can absolutely see. In fact, just quickly popping over to what was said on Axie Infinity, the first of many. Delighted to announce a long-term community tooling partnership between Axie Tech and Axie Infinity. And I know you kind of published this like 2-minute video where you were talking. It's got a lot of attention, and I think I can speak on behalf of the whole community. There's not a single person that doesn't agree with this partnership. Like, you've been incredible.
Thank you so much.
No, you have. You've been incredible for such a long time, and all of this stuff that you're building is just. It's the stuff that we didn't know we needed until we saw it, and now we can't live without.
I think that's it, right? It's not just like, from an engineering perspective, cobbling tools together. It's not just digging holes and filling them back in again. I think what makes us successful to an extent here is that we are really gamers at heart, and we are people that have played and loved this game, for a long time now. And when you can combine the skills that Amy has, with the kind of depth of knowledge and how much we love the detail of the game, it's kind of natural for us in a way, right? Because we just think, well, what tools do we want? We just literally thought, well, we're excited for V3. We're super excited, just as much as everyone else is. What are the questions we're trying to answer? What are the tools that we could build that will help people kind of get more engaged into the game? And I think that's one of the reasons that Axie asked us to do this project for V3 is because they want people to fall in love with this thing. And as everyone can probably tell, there's a huge amount of depth and complexity to Origin that we didn't have in V2.
Oh yeah. I mean,
I think you almost need tooling, right? With that level of complexity, you need stuff. I mean, look at Amy. Used to be a huge World of Warcraft player, probably more than she'd care to admit. But she, I know that she used a lot of inspiration for some of these tools, from some of the World of Warcraft community tooling and some of the fan sites that are out there for some really big MMO games like that. I think it's experience of being a gamer and it's experience of being an engineer, kind of the sweet spot of where those two things meet.
And I think even like going to again back to those simple things that you didn't even realize you needed, like being able to go to the marketplace when you've built you theory craft, you find this ideal team and you're like, yeah, this is what I want to build. You can go straight to the marketplace with the filters to actually just go and pick those. Like you're removing barriers and creating, like, I've always believed that the key to mass adoption comes in two ways. I think there are two human traits, and if you can connect to these two human traits, I think you win, the mass market, and that is greed and sloth. If I can tell you how to make a lot of money very easily, you're interested. And I think when you kind of reverse engineer that and you look at the concepts behind sloth, it comes down to how do you remove the barriers of entry so that you can make something it's so simple. I used to say, make it so simple that a 6-year-old can do it. Because if you can do that,
that's it. Yeah.
People, I'm not going to say they're lazy. I don't want to use that trait. But at the same time, if you can make it easier for people, they're more likely to do it. And you've done that. Like, there are so many things that you've added. And I was looking through the website and thinking to myself, I didn't even know I needed this, but now I've seen it, I expect it. It's kind of like that. It's now a feature that, I'll definitely be using moving forward. And I know already that my team are starting to use this to the theory craft and to look into what's coming. I'm not going to get you to talk about Origins because I know you've signed NDAs and I don't want you to obviously put you in a position. But I do want to ask you one question, or actually two. The first is, of what you can talk about, what excites you the most? What is one thing that you're like, wow, this is absolutely mind-blowing compared to the old version? Like, if there's
it's a good question. It's actually something I was chatting with Paul with Syntax. I don't know if you guys know him. He's the community manager of Axie. Amazing guy. He asked me pretty much the same question, funnily enough, privately, and so I have a stock answer to this. The absolute best thing so far is, so I have been playing. I've had access to the game for probably at least 4 weeks or so. I must have played over 1,000 games. I've played so much. I can't even tell you. I mean, you can imagine how much you'd play if you had access, right? And I still feel like an absolute noob when it comes to the theory crafting side of things. I feel like I've just scratched the surface, and I'll be in the shower, and I'll suddenly think of this new build comp, this new idea. And I'll think, I'm really excited to try this. Yeah, that's a new kind of strategy that I haven't got on board with yet, and it's exciting because I can finally start talking about this with people. I've had no one to talk to about it with. But when you look at the runes and you look at the charms and you look at all the cards, there literally almost is infinite possibilities. I don't think we're going to see 2 of the same builds in the top 100 at all.
Wow.
Which I think is just going to be so fascinating. I think people are going to find their own play style that they like, I think, and there'll be a lot more individuality, I think, in some of the esports stuff. But yeah, to be honest, it's the fact that I haven't worked out the meta. I haven't worked out what's best. There are still new styles of build that I haven't tried yet, despite me playing 1,000 games. And you can't say that for V2, right? I think with V2, you get quite bored of it quickly because the fun is in the strategy of playing the game. There's not really any theory crafting left to do in V2. Sometimes there's a rebalance and there's a couple of weeks where it's fun again because you have to kind of rework out what's best to play. But beyond that, there's not much to it. This game is a game for theory crafters, and that's a bit of me. That's what keeps me interested.
Well, I can see that, and actually, I wanted to just talk to you about that because I've heard runes, charms. I understand the terminology, but I don't have a clue what anything does. So maybe you can, if possible, with some experience, you can talk me through that in a minute, just like what the difference is, and we can have a look through your website. But there is one other question I want to ask you, just while we're on this topic. How does it? Because I know this is something that people are going to experience. You're going to get scholars, members, people playing, even guild managers, playing version 3, Origin. And then they're going to have to go back to version 2 to earn their SLP.
For a short while, yeah.
For a short while. How have you found the transition going back from V3?
That's a really good question.
Or is it just now?
I'll be totally honest. I think I've played 1 game of V2 since I had access to V3, and that's because I needed. Right? I was doing some engineering. and I needed to have some SLP in my account to test something. So it wasn't because I was going back to the game. It was literally because I had to.
See, I think this might actually help the minting process because you've got a group of people that have played Axie. I mean, let's be honest, for money, to earn to pay their bills and to earn money so that they can live. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. So it's going to be very interesting to divide initially whilst there's that kind of segue between the two versions, because version 3 will have no earning capability at the start. Version 2 will, but it's not the game that we want to play, right? So you're going to find the people that want to earn SLP to cash out against the people that want to play a game because they enjoy a game, regardless of the ability to earn. I think it's.
I think that's exactly what will happen. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, from a gameplay perspective, you just can't go back to V2, right? It's like almost going back to like the Mario 1 after playing Mario Odyssey or whatever.
Which is nice for like nostalgia, right?
There's nostalgia. Yeah,
you might do it once just for Christmas, to play on an emulator or something. But you're never going to start playing games again in that. I did it with Road Rash once. I used to have it on. I think it was on a Mega.
I used to love that game.
Yeah, like old school games, and you go back now, and I'm like, wow, did I really used to play this? Like, it's terrible.
People will feel like that about V2. I guarantee it. Not straight away, right? Because you know how it goes. There's whenever there's a big change, different people have different reactions to it. There's different levels of change aversion. That you've got your early adopters and you've got your laggards, and we'll see the same thing happen with Origin, right? Some people will say, "Oh my God, this is amazing! I love it. It's so much. There's so much more depth and complexity, and it's getting me thinking." And that's kind of the camp that I'm in. And those people won't want to go back to V2. You'll get people that just don't like change and will think, "Oh, this is really different. It takes a lot of learning. It might kind of take a while to warm to it." But I think if you ask the same question maybe 2-3 months from now, I can't see anyone wanting to go back and play V2. It's just so simple. It will feel like a mini game, I think, in comparison to what people have got in store.
Wow. And I mean, this just shows you really what is to come, right? This is people are thinking, oh wow, yeah, V3 Origin, like this is Axie Infinity. This is still only like 10%. We've got land, we've got other game devs building out, like we've got Axie a war cart, there's like Axie Tower Battle, there's so many things coming.
So much to come.
So much coming.
Absolutely,
yeah.
So much. And I think it's while you're on that point, I think it's also everyone needs to remember that the game that's coming out in 2 days is the alpha, right? It's the alpha of the game. So it's not the final game. It will need some rebalancing. You have to bear in mind that up until this point, there are not many people that have played the game, and there's only so many things that playtesters can find in small numbers of battles. This alpha is hugely important to the development of the game because we need millions of people to play it to surface up some of the things that we couldn't find during the playtesting. So yeah, it's great. In that sense, everybody's part of the development cycle of the game, and we're counting on all those theory crafters to kind of find the little chinks in the armor that the game testers haven't found so far.
Nice, awesome. Just to answer the questions that I can see in the chat there, yes, this is Best Axie. Ochi, you're absolutely right. The man, the myth, the legend himself joined us. And those of you that are asking about other games, Pets and things like that, we're covering Axie today, so we're not going to be talking about other games. And for the guy that said, like, answer me in the comments, no, jog on. Sorry, I'm not going to demand to you asking questions about another game. If you're respectful, then I will answer you. But I'm gonna focus on Best at the moment because we're really kind of lucky to have him. He's been extremely busy to have this conversation. We're going to focus on Axie right now. But thanks for the questions, guys, and keep them coming in. If you've got any questions for Best, let me know, and we'll push them across. Best, like I don't even know where to get started. I'm going to be honest. I'm looking. I know. We'll come back to this in a minute because there's so much to unpack here. Like welcome.axie.tech, and I'm going to post this in the description if any of you guys want this. If you guys are interested in an Axie role and you want Axie scholarships or memberships, just go to undisputednoobs.com. You can fill in the application form, tick Axie. That's all you need to do there. So, right, coming back to this, welcome.axie.tech. So this is kind of the welcome screen. I posted it for you guys in chat. There's so much here already, right? There's guides on adventure. There's guides on arena. And I mean, as a starting point, I love how you've made this so clean. Like, it's not overwhelming to look at. It's quite nice and quite simple. But if I go into these, if I open these up, like, they are packed. Like, I mean, packed full of content. I mean, how have you unpacked all of this into a way to keep it so simple? I mean, was this you? Was this the team? Like, how long did this take you?
There's different elements. I mean, it's pretty much this is me and Amy did kind of the whole project together. This particular page here is all Amy. To be honest, about 90% of it is all Amy. I'm riding her coattails hugely on this. But no, we were given huge kind of Google Doc of content about arena mode. Right. We obviously had access to the game as well, so we kind of knew a little bit about it just from playing. Axie actually kind of said to us, sorry, because there's a huge amount of stuff here and it's really complex, and
good luck.
We don't really know how to explain it. But you guys are kind of quite good at that typically, so it's the perfect thing for you to help us with. And it's Amy is pretty natural at that. It's one of her massive strengths. You'll probably notice, like, the theme of the welcome site, we try and just chunk the information down. So she uses a lot of those little, like, tooltip boxes with that are shaded in yellow there. Yeah. We try and avoid, like, big paragraphs of text where we can. And we try and use a lot of graphics. Amy is very, very visual. She tries to do as many kind of infographics and pictures as she can to explain things. And I think maybe that's what kind of resonates with people, and that's why people like her sites.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And you're right, to be able to chunk this into bite-sized information is phenomenal. So, I mean, if it's all right with you, I mean, I would love, like, we're going to dive deeper into this anyway, but because I've got you for a limited amount of time, I would love to let's start here on the team builder. 2 new parts. We know we've got eyes and ears now, which in addition to the 4 parts that we had before. So we've got eyes, ears. I'm assuming that looks like mouth and tail. Is this back and...
That's horn, and so the one on the right there was horn. And then the winged one is back. Yep.
Okay, cool. So we've got our 6 body parts, right? And we can choose between those. So I'm assuming this is eye cards, all available eye cards, right? For all of the different...
Yep.
Okay. So then I can choose an eye card. If I do that, I just choose a random eye card. I can do that for all 6 parts, right? So I think maybe we might start seeing a usage again for pure aquas, maybe?
So pures are going to make a big comeback in.
I see that with the potential points, right? With the.
That's right. It might just be worth covering that, because I know that's something that not everybody has completely clear yet. So
I've only just found it whilst I was playing on the site. So yeah, I mean, if I have my Axies, I'm seeing now all of this new information that I've never seen before, like health. That makes sense. Classification. Self-explanatory, yep. Support role neutral, but then what are these potential points?
So potential points are essentially a currency for your Axie that you need to spend to attach charms to its cards. So forget about runes. Potential points have nothing to do with runes. They're only concerned with charms. Okay, so let's and there's a formula. I think it's on our site somewhere. As to how many potential points an Axie has, and it's essentially a combination of what the class of the Axie is and what parts the Axie has. And there's purity bonuses. So if your Axie is a 6 out of 6 pure, then it gets, I think it's a 3 potential point bonus, and then there's some other tiers as well for sort of less purity. You get kind of smaller bonuses for potential points. So the best charm. So if you click on beneath those cards that you've picked there, there's another card slot.
Yes.
For each of the cards, and those are where you can put the charms on. So now you'll see that you can pick charms to attach to your cards, and in the top left you'll see a number in white. Right. Yeah, some of them say 3, 4, 5. That's the potential point cost for attaching that charm.
Here, yes. Okay, so in the very top left is how many I've got available, and then this is how many So this would take 3 out of my 12.
Exactly.
Right.
And what you'll soon notice is you will not have enough potential points to attach the best charms to every single part that you have. So this is where gamers are going to have to start making tactical choices. Do you want to apply 4 kind of 3 PP charms, or do you want to kind of go big and apply a couple of 5s to your most important parts? And this is where you take a normal build, and you've all just with the charms, right? You've probably got thousands of different combinations of builds just from on a single Axie, just with the different charm combinations.
So am I right in believing that the charms they're not connected to the part of the Axie? They're just the part. So the parts of the Axie allow the potential points, which then allow the charms, but the charms are connected to the Axie, not so like this.
No. Sorry, the charm is connected to the part. That specific
so this
part.
rocket stamp is connected to the eyes.
Correct. Yeah.
Enhancing.
So there's I can't quite read what that charm is doing.
Rocket. It says enhance single target attack cards. This card can target any enemy.
Yeah, so clear might not be the best kind of example to put that on, but it does only affect that one card, yeah.
Right, okay. I didn't know if it was for like you were boosting up your Axie in total, like the global aspects. But okay, that makes sense. So if I play that card, I get that charm. Wow. I mean, I know there's banish cards as well, so there's going to be real strategy here to like, okay, so we know that they're playing this. There's also going to be a lot of learning, right? You're going to have to learn all of the charms. So you can say, right, they're playing this charm. We need to banish that card. It's
going to be really fascinating. I think, what blows my mind, I think, is once you sort of start getting your head around the mechanics and how things work, is if you look at it from a matchmaking perspective, you're going to have no idea what strategy your opponent is going to be playing when you're matching a game in Arena, right? So are we going to end up seeing the meta sort of becoming this sort of perfect balance of a team where, regardless of what strat your opponent is going with, you've kind of got something to play against that? Or are we going to see the meta being like really extreme versions of teams that kind of, are built around one particular dynamic or combination of cards, and that's just OP against anything else that's possible? Well, I think that's going to be really interesting to see.
I think what's going to be very interesting as well is some of the influencers on YouTube. Like we saw it before with like Bryson, people like that. How we've seen it as well with Elijah and other people that have built these builds. It's going to be fascinating to see how the influencers can affect the marketplace. Because I think breeders are going to be waking up to a lot more possibility of what's going to be needed in terms of, and also now the beauty about this as well is you get your starter Axie, right? You get these free Axies that you can play with.
That's right.
So
yeah.
Just a quick point on that, because I don't think we need to go too deep into that, but if you're aware, do you get to pick your starter Axie, or are they given to you?
No. So everybody starts the game with 3 starter Axies, and it's the ones that everyone's been introduced to already, yeah. And then so it's Oleg, Puffy, and Bubba, and then you can unlock more as you play through the adventure mode, which is cool, right? Because people can join completely free to play. They can get a feel for the game. They can actually go all the way through adventure mode, unlocking all of the starter Axies, and there's quite a lot of depth and fun that you can get out of the game without spending a single penny.
Yeah, I mean it looks like, I mean, I remember the adventure mode from the old version, and this just looks like a much funner approach to what they built before, but it definitely looks in depth as well.
It feels a bit closer to what you'd expect from like a mobile game you download from the App Store. Gotcha. It's a bit more mature than kind of what we saw last time, which is great.
And it says here each chapter has 7 big stages and 12 small stages.
Yeah, that's right. So you can see on the picture, I think, the big icons are like the main nodes, and then in between each main node, you've got 2 kind of smaller dots. and that's the big and small stages.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, perfect. Wow.
Just to touch on something you said a second ago as well, which we didn't talk about yet, which was breeding. So I haven't bred personally Axies in a long time now. I got bored of breeding. I think a lot of people got bored of breeding.
Yep.
With Origin, and I think people have already started to notice this from using like our team builder and then searching on the marketplace. If you go and kind of pick your best build Axie, I can almost guarantee you it won't exist.
Yeah, well, even this...
Because now we're looking at 6 parts, right?
That's it. No one has really bred for those 6 parts yet. Everyone bred for 4, right? And ignored the last 2.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, they used to matter for things like speed and morale sometimes, which, by the way, you know, I think if you don't know yet, then speed, morale and skill are not a thing in Origin. They're not. Those stats don't exist in the game. So yeah, breeding. There's a lot more. Breeding I think could explode again because the meta Axies don't exist, and they do need to be bred. And I think the other, obviously with runes and charms, people are not going to just be able to go out and buy those. You can't go on the marketplace and buy the runes and charms that you want. At least not yet. That it might get to the point where they can be turned into NFTs and people can trade them, but certainly from the beginning they need to be crafted. So yeah, I think it makes this really interesting dynamic where people are incentivized to go and play the game rather than necessarily just go and pay to win or buy the best thing and instantly win.
They'll need to play the game, and I think there's going to be that interesting, because as well as theory crafting, like you can theory craft your Axie, but if you're, and I suppose you could go into practice mode. So I guess what I don't know, and maybe I don't know if you can talk about it, you might not have even experienced it yet, but in practice mode, can you build any Axie as an example to practice with, or can you only practice with your free to play ones that you were given?
So in the version of the game that I'm familiar with, that we've written the guides around, you can only use the Axies that you've got to practice. It's more just like people used to scrim and stuff, and it used to be quite hard to do that within the game. But now there's this really cool interface where you can just add your friends and then just play practice games against your friends if you want to, just mess around.
But can you theory craft your Axie in those practice matches?
No, I don't think so. I did actually suggest to them that might be a feature they want to make, because I think that would be amazing, and especially for a free-to-play player. I think that could be something that really gets their hook, and if they find a build that they really really like, it might encourage them to kind of go into the market and then become an investor and a player in the game.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And I think this is interesting because when you consider right now on the marketplace, there's 600,000 Axies, which if you're looking at a team, that's only 200,000 teams, right? If you're talking about millions of new players coming on board, the marketplace just will not be able to deal with the demand. And let's not even take into account most of these Axies aren't really competitive Axies. They're just floor. I don't want to say floor trash because I don't want to say an Axie is trash, but they are not what you would expect to compete in typical.
Well, I think this is another thing that will change with Origin. Is right now in V2, there's a really really big disparity between the meta and the floor.
Yes.
To a point where a meta team could come up against a floor team, and there's literally 0% chance of that floor team winning. It's just it's not possible. And I don't think that's the case in Origin, at least with what I've seen so far. We were experimenting, actually. Rare and I were playing together as part of our kind of research for the game. And we originally we were kind of picking specific builds to try out and play test. And one of the things we did was we picked random teams. We started just picking 3 random Axies and playing against each other. And we did a few tests where one of us would pick our own build and the other one would play with a random team, just so we could see how much of an advantage it would give. And the advantage was surprisingly small. Of picking your team over having a random team. I think if you look at a floor Axie now, I think most floor Axies are going to be able to compete in Origin. I really do, and I think one of the reasons for that is partly the way they've balanced the cards, but mostly because of runes and charms. I think runes and charms are where the game will be won and lost in Origin. And that's really cool, right? Because then Axies almost become these blank canvases to an extent.
But you can personalize, right? You can make them what you want.
Exactly. And I love that way of going with it. And I think, Ghost has been saying this for over a year, as long as I've been in the community, which is that Sky Mavis want Axie prices to be cheap and affordable long term, because otherwise it's a huge barrier of entry to get people into the ecosystem. So I think this is a really, really cool dynamic that we can see emerging now, which is where, people don't have to break the bank to buy their Axie teams. They can get in relatively cheaply, and then to compete, it takes a combination of theory crafting, thinking, and a lot of playtime, and maybe with some investment as well.
Yes. No, I think I can see this. And so a question just on that with regards, because the breeding is one thing and I'm really interested in that, but with the charms, how do you acquire charms in the game? Is that through adventure mode? Do you start with them all? Do you have to earn them? Or if you can't,
so you start the game with no runes or charms, and all of them have to be crafted. Okay, so they can't be bought, and I love that. I think that's amazing, because it's rewarding people that are playing the game rather than rewarding people with money.
Okay, so then my question next is then how do you craft a charm in the game? Like, what do you have to do? Is it done through adventure mode or arena mode, or how?
So what we know so far is that there's going to be this crafting element to the game. Foraging is something kind of different. It's like, have you ever played a mobile game before where you get like timed rewards? You kind of get you get something just for logging in every day.
Pretty much like the daily rewards that were taken away for SLP, bringing them back.
It's a bit like that, except foraging is literally, you don't have to do anything except log in and click them and claim them.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool.
Okay, right. So then I suppose, that brings me back to that question of, in terms of charms, how would one go about acquiring a charm?
So charms and runes, so both of them are acquired through crafting. And to craft, you need to spend this new currency called moon shards. It's a complete in-game currency. They're not tokens. They're not NFTs. And I think SLP as well, possibly. Crafting is something we actually haven't had a huge amount of access to, but we kind of know roughly how it's going to work just through the announcement that the guys have made. So we don't know how much it's going to cost. We don't know how many moon shards. We don't know how much SLP or anything like that. But they are going to be craftable in game. And as far as I understand, there's like a random element to which ones get crafted, so I don't think you can pick which one you want to craft.
Right, there's going to be some RNG involved. Okay.
Now, I think that's a super interesting element as well, right? Because especially as runes and charms are all class specific. So what's going to happen if you run a triple aqua team and you do your crafting and you roll some bird or some bug charms? You're not going to be able to use those. So what I think that will mean is we'll start to see people have more than 3 Axies. I think your average team might be a bit more diverse now, rather than kind of, especially for scholarship managers and guilds. I'm thinking in my head, well, I think my guys are going to need at least kind of 10 Axies each, because I want them to have the variety and the options available such that whatever charms and runes that they roll, they're going to be able to do something with them. They're going to be able to create a team around them. And I don't really like the idea of just constantly moving Axies between everybody. I just think that could be a huge waste of time.
Yes.
So I think it's super interesting. I think people are going to have to invest kind of themselves as gamers into this new ecosystem now, and I think guilds will have to kind of back those people a bit heavier by investing in more Axies per team and giving people a real chance at putting together a competitive team, whatever charms and runes that they roll.
Wow. Okay. I mean, that in itself there's a lot to get your head around in terms of just the charms alone. The concept, simply enough, the concept I understand, but in terms of first memorizing what there are, that's without saying that they're going to add more.
Oh my goodness,
there'll be balancing, there'll be meta. We'll see this. So I don't know what will change, but you're first learning, and then acquiring, and then obviously learning to use, and you know, using rune or using charms to effectively change it. I mean, we saw it on a demo recently. These aqua tanks that were fast, they were hard hitting, and they were tanky. And I'm guessing that comes down to the use of charms to be able to custom build.
So that, I think I know the team you mean. It was the one that that Jeff played, right, with the really tanky aquas. So that was actually runes rather than charms in this case. So if you pop over to the runes tab, there's a.
That's my next question then.
There's an aqua charm. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, what's the difference between charms? I understand charms. They are a charm is an addition to a card, a specific card,
correct,
or a body part. Runes. What are runes?
So a rune affects the whole Axie.
Right.
And sometimes, depending on the effect, it can affect the whole team, not just the Axie.
Right.
So, it's not, as you say, a charm is attached to a part of an Axie, but a rune is attached to the Axie itself. And you can only put one rune on each Axie. Right. And they're also class specific. So you can only, if you've got a bird Axie, you can only choose a neutral rune or a bird rune to apply. So this is, another thing where I think if you take two Axies that have exactly the same 6 parts, but one of them is a dusk and one of them is a plant, because of the different runes that you can attach to those Axies, they're going to play completely differently, even if they have the same 6 parts. And, one might have a much higher value in the market than the other just because it can make use of a particular set of runes or charms that the other one can't. So there's, like you said, it's so complex. There's so much to it. I've had access to the game and I've written guides on it, and I still feel like a bit of a noob. So, I think everyone should cut themselves a bit of slack in terms of not feeling like a master of this yet.
I can see that. I mean, that itself, it looks crazy. Some people are telling me I need to turn my volume up. My volume's actually at full. Sorry, guys, if you can't hear me properly. I'll turn Best down a little bit.
Just turn me down.
I just want people to hear him, Hopefully, sorry, mate. Hopefully, we're a bit even now. Sorry, guys, for the audio. So, okay, I can see this. Okay, so there's aqua runes and there's neutral runes, and I can use either on this particular Axie. So, increase all Axies maximum HP by 75. So I can do that.
That was the one that Jeff was using. Yeah, he was using 3 of them, I think he was. So
nice. Here's where I can change this. Okay, perfect. So then I can add another rune. So you can add the same rune twice, maybe, if you have it.
You can. I have a feeling that they might change that one. There's a particular effect called solo. You might see it on some of the runes, depending on which ones you're picking.
Right, I'll tell you what, the easiest way will be go back to the rune and look.
Yeah, you might be able to type solo in the search bar, actually. Something should show up.
Oh, there we go.
For certain runes, you're only allowed to attach one of them per team.
Right.
I assume it's a balance mechanic.
Adds one.
Now, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Hearty Ocean pick up solo, because it does seem a bit much to be able to add 225 health to all 3 of your Axies.
But yeah, I can see how people are going to have fun with this when we start, though, right?
Exactly. Well, I mean, the other thing that I don't think people fully understand here is you can't just go into the game and pick whatever runes you want. Like, we don't know the rarity on that. Like, that thing might be like a 0.0001% drop, and maybe only one player ever sees it. That to take things really extreme. I think if that rune was too common, I think it would almost be a bit game breaking. So there's balancing effects they can do in terms of the rarity of this stuff, as well as just the the mechanics of it.
Right. Okay, well, that makes sense. So okay, and I'm assuming runes are probably going to be the same as charms in the fact that you have to acquire them through gameplay.
You have to craft them. Yeah, that's right.
Same thing.
You have to craft runes and charms.
So is there anything around this new asset? Did you say it was called Moondust?
Moon shards.
Moon shards. Yeah.
We don't know very much about them. All we know about them is they're not a token. You cannot buy or sell them. Right. They're an in-game currency, and you earn them from playing. But we don't have details on, like where, how much you earn and how many you need to craft.
Okay.
Or, what game mode kind of provides the most moonshards. We don't know that yet.
Nice. Okay, so we're still going to have SLP. We're going to have a new asset as well called moonshards, which are going to be used for crafting charms and runes, which are going to be account specific. Okay, interesting. And then we've got our Axies with our 2 additional parts. There's a lot to take in here.
There is, yeah.
I'm kind of glad we got your website to go through this. And that kind of brings me back to your website. If you go to welcome.axie.tech, one of the beautiful things, and I'm just going to close all this down, is that you've actually got 2 guides that you've published already, I can see. There's the adventure guide and the arena guide. Now, I'm really conscious on time as well. Are you all right for a minute? Because if you need to go, I can carry on. Or if you...
I had a 4 o'clock, but it got cancelled, so I'm happy to kind of stay on with you for a little bit.
Well, I mean, only because I'm just a bit concerned. It's like the blind leading the blind. If I try and tell people what's going on here, we're all going to be confused. You just have an army of noobs heading into version 3. So I'm kind of, you're kind of our beacon of light here for some sanity. Is when we hit this game in 2 days, we've at least got an awareness of what's coming. And I mean, adventure mode seems quite straightforward. You go in, you battle in a PvE, player versus environment, and you have your kind of starter Axie. I'm assuming you don't take your NFTs into adventure mode.
I think you can.
Okay.
I think you can play personal Axies in adventure mode, yeah. But obviously, if you're totally new to the game and you don't have any Axies at all,
then you've got starter Axie.
You can play adventure mode with your 3 starters, yeah.
Okay, cool. So then there'll be foraging, which, as you've mentioned, is like the daily rewards. There's milestones, so there's bonuses. Okay, cool. So I mean, I guess that's pretty much all we know at the moment. Is that there's going to be different chapters. I'm assuming there's going to be lore around this, and there's going to be a story.
There's actually lots of stuff. We've got some more content that's coming out. It's going to launch on this site on welcome.axie.tech on the 7th at exactly the same time that the game goes live.
Oh, amazing.
We've got a few extra guides that have content that we're not allowed to leak yet, which is why they're not live yet.
Wow.
A couple of those are going to be focused. So the 2 main ones actually that aren't live yet are, there's going to be a guide that's focused on players that are completely new to Axie. So, you've never played Axie before. You don't even really know what Axie is. You might have heard about it in the news or something. And then there's going to be another guide that's going to be focused on everybody that comes from the world of V2 and everybody that has been playing Axie for a long time. And that's going to be, a bit more tailored to focusing on what's different and, what are the questions that you're probably asking yourself and how can we answer them for you.
Okay.
So part of that is going to have a lot more on adventure mode and a lot more on the starter Axies, but we can't show you that just yet.
Sure. No, and that's fair enough. And I appreciate the heads up that on the 7th, there you go. If you want to get ahead of the curve on the 7th, make sure that as you've got your Axie screen open, you're playing, you've got your Axie Tech screen open as well. And you can be reading through and learning as you're going through this. Because these guides, they're simple, they're easy to read, and they're going to give you a heads up. They're going to help you to understand better. Especially when you look at things like this, you can see adventure mode. There's going to be chapters. Each chapter's 7 big stages, 12 small stages. So you can see 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So there's 2 between each. And you can kind of get a feel for this. So I suppose then the last guide to kind of look at is this arena guide that you've made. And I had a look at this. This was the first thing that I saw. And again, I said it already. I'll say it again. It's kind of a credit to you and your team how you've taken such a complex subject without much in terms of you wasn't really given much guidance other than here's a document, good luck. For you to have been able to turn it into something that visually is not overwhelming, but also that breaks it down and explains it is, credit to you and the team. It's amazing. So thank you.
Amy's done an amazing job.
Thanks for building this. It's cool. It's awesome. And I'm assuming we're going to get the same battle logs and tools and features within Axie Tech that's going to just plug straight in and allow us to go back and see how we're doing. Obviously, there's the ability for people to join up. Just a quick plug for you guys. Obviously, you've got your VIP, where people can actually get their guild dashboards and their memberships and I know that we've talked about this before. You've got these leaderboards. You do a lot of work with guilds actually running and managing the Axies for them. Like,
That's right. Yeah.
There's a lot of tools here that people don't
have
realize.
to make our living somehow, and yeah, we do that by providing VIP software for people that like to manage their guilds, and also for people that want to kind of invest in Axie and start scholarship programs, but maybe don't quite know how to start or quite know how to do that. We can manage investments for them as well. So
yeah.
Tell your friends.
Yeah, no, amazing, definitely. I mean, this is like, I used to be a t-shirt printer in another life, and we used to print t-shirts, and someone actually turned around to me and said, I want to get into printing t-shirts. How would you recommend I start? And I said, honestly, if I was to start now, rather than buying all the machines and all the equipment and the software and learning how to turn things into like embroidery stitches and vector files, I'd just go to Teesprings and just have it all done for me. This is kind of like that example where, you know, I've built out my own guild. We've built out so many tools and systems, and it's been painful. It's been amazing, but it's been so painful, and it's such a long experience of going through mistakes after mistakes to find the things that work, that to just come in and plug into something like this off the ground and be like, not even worrying about it is, I think it's very, very hard to explain the value of this unless someone's experienced the pain. Like sometimes people need to go through that journey to know how valuable something is. And if, you know, you can learn one of two ways, right? You can learn through experience, or you can learn through someone else's experience. So this is me telling you from my experience, if you're getting into this and you don't want that hassle, this is a great alternative to allow you to get in, but not have to do the day-to-day management, which can be overwhelming. Like, my team would tell you that. Like, running Axie is a full-time job. Like, running an Axie guild. And
I think it's about 3 full-time jobs, isn't it?
But it is. Like, we literally have. We've got myself, we've got Cody, we've got Fitzy, we've also got Gracie, we've got the onboarding team, we've got the mods, we've got everybody
so
working.
Much to it, yeah.
It's so many people. And when you think about what we get in return for that, I've never taken a single cent or penny or whatever currency you want. I've never taken profit in Axie. Everything's been reinvested and helped to build. We've seen a really difficult time in the last like 6 to 12 months. You know, the market's gone from all-time highs to all-time lows. It's really that moment now where we're going to get rid of the people that were here just for profit and not interested in the game. And we're going to, and I love it because now we can rebuild and focus with the people that actually care and want to play the game. And then when the profits do come, it'll come to the people that deserve to be here, not the tourists. So I love just being in this space. Even though I've been focused on other things, we've always been in Axie. We've still got our scholarships. And, you know, with people like yourselves, just to learn all of the stuff that's going on in this space is incredible. I'm excited and nervous. Best, I'll be honest. I'm excited to play Origin. I'm nervous for my scholars because I don't think any of them are going to want to play anything else. I think there's going to be a lot of time spent figuring stuff out, and I think my poor coach Cody is going to have a lot of work cut out for him figuring all of this stuff out.
100%.
This is like a full-time. He's already got a full-time job. Coaching is the
bit that scares me as well. 100%, because, you know, as we both run guilds, right? And coaching is a big part of it. Yeah. Coaching in V2 is easy because there's kind of set meta teams, there's set strategies. A lot of people, you know, a common guild manager strategy is to give a lot of people the same build, right? Because it makes coaching easier. I know a lot of people do that. I have no idea how that's going to work. I have no idea how that's going to work in V3 because runes and charms are going to mean that even if you give people the same 3 Axies, they're going to have different teams. Yeah. And they're going to be building them in different ways. So I don't think it's going to be as... I think there's going to be a bit more responsibility on the scholars themselves and on the gamers themselves to learn the game, play around with it, find a strategy that they're happy with. And people are going to have to be flexible because you're not going to roll the runes and the charms that you necessarily want. So you're going to have to, you might have to find a way to play that, you know, that build that's kind of built around rage, even though it's maybe, you know, kind of curses that you wanted to be focusing on in your dream team.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's going to be fascinating.
This is, Ochi's just said like he's going to be busy for the next couple of days. I think couple of weeks, mate. To be honest with you, this is something, and I really do urge you. I really do urge you, if you're in Axie at the moment, go to axie.tech, check out the Card Explorer, learn the cards, learn the charms, give yourself a head start by kind of understanding what's coming, because there are so many things to unpack here. And best, like you've just said, like being able to figure out what works and what doesn't for one team. See, one thing we found in our guild, which was really fascinating, is there were people that because we have coaches. So we had Cody was our head coach, and then we had scholar trainers, which were basically people that started as scholars but become very good at the game, and then started to help newer scholars. And those scholars have now gone on to become mentors, because we don't really have a scholarship model anymore. We have members which have mentors.
Sure.
So the mentorships that we do now are basically people that are good at the game that can help other people. Now, a challenge with that model, what we found, is there were some people that were playing the game who had no interest at all in learning how to play the game. They wanted to jump on a call every day and be told exactly what cards to play in what order. And we've identified that. Obviously not at the start. It took building that to learn that. And so we've had to say to people, you know, you can have coaching sessions. Like, we want everyone to have access to coaches, but there has to be some criteria set here. Like, I will help anybody as long as they're willing to help themselves first.
There's got to be some appetite.
There has to
be
some
willingness
appetite.
to learn.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think what this is going to do is it's going to put those mentors, those scholar trainers, it's going to put them in such a high demand again. But it's really, as you've just rightly said, it's on the onus. It is actually on the scholars themselves to put in their work and effort to be good at this game.
Big time.
You're not
I
going to
don't
get
think
paid.
there's going to be a shortcut to it here in Origin. You know, it's not. I think in V2 maybe you can say, I don't want to learn every card, I don't want to learn every strategy, but you know, can you teach me how to just play my team?
Yeah.
And that can kind of work. I don't think
so.
that will work. I don't think that will work with Origin at all. I think coaching will probably end up becoming more like a training program to understand the full game, how to fully understand the game, because it's too in depth, and there's not that that precision element of control over your team because 100%. Of that random element of runes and charms.
We see it in Dota. Dota's a great example. I know there's other MOBA games, but in Dota, you know, you can pick up a guide and you can build by the guide. But it depending on the enemies, depending on your team composition, depending on how the game's going, you might need to adjust that build. But there are people that go through what you call auto builds. And that will happen here. There'll be auto builds where people will go, hey, this is a build for a tank. This is a build for a damage. This is, you know, whatever. But the people that will really succeed in these games are the ones that are able to almost theory craft on the spot. Be able to take a situation and say, okay, I need to adjust this to climb the next 100 MMR or 200 MMR. I'm stuck. I need to swap things up. Let me try this. Let me do that. And it's those players that understand the foundations, the underlying principles, and that can apply them to any of the cards. They're going to be the people, I think, that survive and that earn the most
agree with that.
from this game. And I think this is really where the game... This is going to upset a lot of people. Let's be honest. The lazy people that expected a free ride by clicking mindlessly, they're not going to do very well. And they're going to be on Twitter, in the comment sections of YouTube, in uproar. And that's a necessary evolution because it wasn't a sustainable model. It was never going to work long time, and we've seen that. So I think this is an incredible pivot for Sky Mavis to have built this. And wow, I mean, what a game. I mean, we've been waiting for it, but I'll be honest, I'm starting to see the excitement now. I mean, I've seen everyone talking about it. I haven't quite been on board myself because I've been busy. Now coming back and seeing this, and this is the first time I've dived into this. It looks amazing. I mean, I'm actually looking forward to playing this myself. I'm going to start streaming this again. I'm going to have to go and buy some
I'm so
Axie.
excited for everyone. I cannot wait to start watching all the streams and hearing what people are going to say about it. I can't wait to have more people to play against.
That must be frustrating,
I'm really excited.
Right?
And I've already played the game for a month and I'm excited, right? So, yeah, you guys must be Must be shaking in your pants.
Yeah.
There's one. There's one thing I wanted to show you actually. So
Sure.
we have a few other guides that Amy launched. If you go back to the welcome site.
Okay, yeah. So
I mean,
there's so much, guys. By the way, if you go through this arena, you need to understand this. There's energies changing. There's now something called Ronin Spirit. We won't go into it now. Obviously, there's so much to unpack. But yeah, you need to take your time and go through this. We'll do more videos in the future on this, and we'll talk about this. But yeah, there's a lot here. But Best, you say there's more guides?
Yeah, so if you go back to the top nav, there's a guides button.
Yep. Wow. Okay.
So if I click
that, oh wow.
We've actually got more guides that are a bit hidden.
Is this where we'll see the guides on the 7th?
So we'll have more that come out on the 7th.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So
these ones we were given permission to kind of to launch these yesterday. So these are already live. The builds guide was probably the hardest thing of the whole project.
Really?
That was the thing that took me the most time and kept me up at night the most, because like I said to you at the beginning, right, I still feel like a bit of a noob, even though I've been playing this for a while and I've been theory crafting for a while. But one of the things I had to do was create a page which I don't know if did you ever use Axie Zone?
Yes.
The website Axie Zone?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, when I first started in Axie in December 2020, one of the first things I did was I went to Axie Zone, and they had a page there that was like it was like a builds guide, and it showed you like about 8 different example builds that you might play. And that was awesome, because that kind of gave me that little bit of information I needed to go into the market and buy my first set of Axies. So we wanted to do the same thing. We wanted to give people a real starter for 10 builds guide, like not trying to aim this at all of the top players, because they'll put way better teams together than I will. But for someone that isn't familiar with how to build a team in Origin, here are a few examples. And oh my goodness, it was so difficult. So the only reason I actually have managed to deliver anything on this is because I had to ignore runes and charms.
Really?
Because if I didn't include runes and charms, there were just too many possibilities.
Wow.
So I've almost kind of said, okay, I'm just going to ignore runes and charms for a second, because when you're first buying your first 3 Axies or your first set of Axies, you're not going to have any runes and charms anyway, right? So you're only going to be going into the market for what those Axies are. So let's focus on that. I think I've put 5 or 6 different builds together. So I played with all of these and tested them. And I don't know if we'll see builds like this when people start playing, because I've tried to create like really extreme versions of teams that are built around like one particular dynamic. So I think the first one that you saw in that list was like a rage team. So every single card where possible is kind of built around giving those Axies rage, so that they can hit fury mode and start critting everywhere.
And I love the fact that you explain that as well, because like rage is something in itself where people might go, well, what's rage? There's so exactly. many things here where people have to kind of learn. This is a really good way for people to be able to get those like initial concepts, right? It's like you said, it's that entry level where people are getting started before even worrying about charms and runes, that they can come in and learn the basics of the game.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a bit worried about Indez reading it, because he's probably going to laugh and go, these teams are nonsense compared to my genius. But it's not aimed at Indez, and it's not aimed at those top players.
And do you know really what? I wrote a book. In fact, in case you didn't know, this is quite funny. This is me in a different life. So I actually wrote a book called Plan Your Website. And it was all about the strategy about building websites. Now, when I published it, I was nervous about developers reading it and going, well, that's crap advice. But then I realized I wasn't writing a book for developers. I was writing a book for business owners that wanted to hire someone but didn't know the questions to ask. So, yeah, Indez might look at this and go, that's not good compared to my build. But for someone that's coming into the game that's never played it before, that's going to be completely overwhelmed, what you've built here is effectively the Book of Axie. This is like
Thanks,
this is
well,
their
I hope it
ability.
Helps some people, yeah.
Yeah, like new people are going to be able to come in here and are going to be able to learn how to play the game from scratch. And it's still overwhelming, don't get me wrong, but it's it's so much better than if they were to go in blind.
That's the idea, yeah. And we don't want to take, you still want there to be some level of mystery when you play the game, right? I think we would maybe take away some excitement if we gave you everything in these sites. But like you said, the idea was to try and prepare people a little bit so you're not completely lost when you start, and get you a bit excited about it as well, right? Like get some hooks in there to kind of go, oh, that build looks like it might be quite fun to play. I'm really looking forward to trying that out.
I think so, and I'm just looking through the comments here. So, one sec. Let me just deal with this. Okay, so Brandon just said, I want to say this website is really, really, really helpful. The chance to learn Origin ahead, brainstorming a team, pushing creativity out. It's just really fun, and Axie Tech provides provides exactly what you need. So yeah, and there's other people, that are actually saying like this has been a godsend. Really, it's kind of what people need. It's what people need to see, and it kind of helps people to like. I'm going to be giving my members homework. Like I'm gonna, as soon as we finish this call, I'm going into my Discord server and I'm gonna be like, guys and girls, go to this website, read these guides. Like you have to go and get ready.
It's so close now, right? Now is the time to be reading it.
This is it, like 2 days.
We're going to be playing this in 2 days.
Well, exactly. This is not something that you would want to read like 2 or 3 weeks out, because you'd forget a lot of it, right? Because if you're going to learn this, you want to apply it. Like the real knowledge comes from the application, and we've not been able to do that yet. So yeah, like now's the time. Now really is the time, and there's so much that you're covering here. I mean, it is. And even breeding, like you've got into breeding guides, like you've pulled everything through. This is, I mean, I'm kind of blown away. I know you've been busy. I don't think I realised how busy you've been, mate. It's
Thank you. Yeah, it's been tough. It's been kind of, I think, 6 weeks-ish. We've just been squirreling away on this stuff, and not being able to talk about it. Right, we've been so excited. That's
going to be the hardest part, right?
But Amy and I were talking the other day, and we kind of said, like, I don't know if any of our followers would have noticed, but we've been just so deadly quiet on Twitter recently because we go to type something out and then we're like, oh, NDA, can't say that. So yeah, it's been really frustrating, having all this excitement and having no channel to kind of go and to go and release the pressure valve. But now we can start talking about it and showing it off. So yeah, feeling a lot better now.
Yeah, and I think that you're going to just go from strength to strength, and this is what we say, right? When the markets are down, when things are bad, when nothing's happening, you build, and then you get to reap the rewards. And I see them come in, and Sky Mavis announcing you as kind of an official first partner for the next 2 years is incredible. And if this is the kind of level that you're launching with, I think it does one of two things. It sets the bar for other people that come into this space, because people can't now go, oh, I'm going to, create a potential partnership with Sky Mavis by building these guides. If they do, they need to be different or better than what you've already created. You can't now come to the table with less than this. Like you've really set, and that's not to say people can't obviously create, because anyone can create here. But in order for what Axie are going to look at in terms of partnerships, you've really set an incredible bar to say, like, this is...
I think I agree with what you're saying. I think to put it in maybe a slightly different way, yeah. I think what we've done is tried to, and I hope Sky Mavis wouldn't mind us saying this, but they've said it to us themselves. What we've tried to do is do something better than Sky Mavis could do it themselves.
Yeah.
And what that thing is explaining content and kind of that engagement, community engagement with information and tooling. And I think there's so many other opportunities for people to get involved. Tooling and tech is not the only place for that. There's content creation, there's education, there's I think there probably still is tooling and a whole host of things that we're not doing yet, where there's room to partner. So I think we are absolutely over the moon about the partnership. We're really, really, really proud. But Axie have kind of made it pretty clear to us that it's our job to set a precedent for other partners.
Yes.
Like this is not an exclusive partnership. Axie have not said, oh, you guys are the one. Well done, you won the competition. and you're the winner. That's not what this is. Like, this is, they want to partner with more people, and they want to make it work, and they want it to be successful, and they want us to help transition other people into partnering with them in a healthy and sustainable way. So that, I mean, we do feel a bit of pressure over that. We're hugely confident we're going to be able to deliver the tooling and the value. The bit that's going to be, I think, more interesting is going to be the journey of being a successful partner, showing other people what it means, right? And I think we're going to have to show a bit of leadership there. For example, I'm probably going to write a blog post about it soon, but being a community partner doesn't mean that we've just done a deal with Sky Mavis. It kind of means we've just done a deal with the whole community.
Yes.
I don't think it's my job to call Jihos and be like, right, what are we building for you today? The right thing to do is for us to be really close to everyone in the community, for us to preempt to an extent what we think people need, but also listen to the feedback. And if people are saying, oh, we really have this big problem, or we really want this tool, then we should be listening, and we should be delivering that for people.
No, I agree. And I think there's two ways to do this, and you do it beautifully. One is to listen to what people want, and the second is to give people what they want, even though they don't realize they need it. And I think you've done that incredibly here. You've given people tools that, until I'd seen some of these tools, I didn't even know that I needed them, but now I don't think I can live without them. I mean, just looking through the website at some of the tools, just some simple things like checking the floor, like of the price of like pure Axies now is it's just such an efficient, easy way to save time. And things like this are just phenomenal. Like, I can go and I can say, right, I want to plant, what is the cheapest pure plant? And not only that, but I can actually click on it and it will take me to the marketplace so I can go and directly buy it. I mean, it's just, the tools that you've built are phenomenal. They really are.
Thank you. I think it's going to be really important for the next phase, right? Because Sky Mavis have already talked about a huge push towards, picking up new markets this year.
Yes.
We might see, Origin in app stores, hopefully, possibly, and hopefully try and push it a bit more mass market. And if we go down that route, then we will be the first, Web3 game to try and push mass market. And you have to remove as many of those barriers as you can if you go down that route, right? Because you and I, Steve, and most other people that are in this space, it's our life. It's our, it's taken over our world. We both quit our jobs to do this.
Much to the detriment of our partners' opinions and approval sometimes, yes.
Yeah, let's not go there. But yeah, absolutely. But, when we go mass market, not everyone, we need casual gamers, right? We need people to be able to pick up Axie and do it in the half an hour that they have between their meetings or whatever it is.
And on the train on the way to work. Yeah, it needs to be fun.
So, I think that's where we're going to hopefully provide a lot of value to the growth of the ecosystem. Is we're hoping that our tools and our information and our guides can help onboard the mass market, can make Axie into something that can be a bit more casual, if you want to be casual, whilst, the amazing job that the Sky Mavis team has done to build the game and the depth that it's got, will also tick the boxes for those people that want to throw their whole lives into it as well.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be a really big key, I think, moving forward, because don't forget, like, we've got land, there's so many other things to come. This is just the next stage. This is not the end goal. This is just the next stage in the journey, right? There's still, and this in itself, I mean, just looking right now in the ranked mode at the ranking system, I mean, there are going to be people that start dedicating their lives to this. There are people that are going to be focused to be the best of the best. And there's just so much to come out of this. You're going to have, I can see going back to, there's going to be breeding specialists, where someone like Indes will come along and say, hey, Steve, I need this Axie. Can you breed it for me? There's going to be so many opportunities that are going to be built from this, this framework that Sky Mavis have provided.
Have you seen the cadence for the seasons as well? I think we've got some information in here about it. So the seasons now are lasting 2 months each.
Okay.
And then there's a 1 month break.
Page? Let me have a look. Oh, seasons. Here we go. Yep. So Okay, no, it doesn't tell you on there that... Oh, yeah, here we go. Sorry. Each lasting 2 months with a 1-month break. Players can receive 2 types of rewards each season. First time rewards received every time players are promoted to a new rank or tier. And then end of season rewards. So there's a new reward structure.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And I think it's really interesting that, well, I love the fact that there's a set cadence. I love the fact that we know the Unity seasons will be 2 months long. There's going to be a 1-month break. So that means we know there's going to be 4 seasons a year.
Yes.
4 seasons a year, 2 months long. Like I can see these things being. I mean, think about the rewards. I think the rewards are going to be huge.
Well,
Absolutely
I think so too.
Huge for the top players. I think they'll be bigger than we've ever seen in V2.
But also they're saying here about you can still compete in ranked even between seasons, which is new. It's just you won't receive the rewards. So the only benefit of the seasons now is for the rewards. You'll still be able to compete in ranked even between seasons.
Exactly, yeah. Which is great, right? Because if you're a player that doesn't, you're not aiming to be in the top 100 or kind of go competitively, you've still got some rewards that you're chasing, because if you can hit, the next rank that you've not got before, there's going to be first time rewards for them, and it doesn't matter if that's on season or off season. So, and I think there's so many little details everywhere around Origin.
Yeah, so it says first time or end of season rewards is only available during the season. So it might even cause people to be like, oh, I'm not actually going to play competitively off season because I'll miss out on those first time rewards by leveling up.
Oh, does it say first time as well?
Yeah, yeah. It says you won't receive first time or end of season rewards outside, which is interesting.
So we might see more practice mode get played off season then.
Exact, an adventure mode or other things, or theory crafting and building and playing. But what I think we'll see is when the season starts, there'll be this big push to level up. It's going to be very, very...
Exactly. Because everyone wants those first-time rewards. Yeah,
it's going to be fascinating to see how... Because somebody said once, and I found it interesting, like gamers will optimize the fun out of a game. Like, I think I find that in Web3 more than anything. If there's an opportunity to optimize to the point of it not being fun anymore, people will do that. And I think seeing how people react and how they find the path of least resistance is going to be fascinating. Like the data that we receive over the next sort of 3 to 6 months to the next 12 months and beyond is going to be brilliant, I think, to be able to say. I'm very excited. I love pattern recognition. I love looking into stuff like this. I'm just fascinated to be able to watch and see what everyone does and how they deal with this. I mean, the new stats, the new like each ranked battle costs 1 stamina now, so there's no energy. So it looks like energy has been replaced by stamina.
That's right, yeah.
And now the stamina is determined by the total number of Axies you have in your account. So it's capped at 60. Maximum you can have is 60. But it's 0.5 times the number of starter Axie. So there's going to be a bonus in going and getting those and unlocking those starter Axie, because it will give you more stamina in doing that. And then the amount of personal Axies that you have as well. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to find out what works in terms of a team. You know, maybe having free floor
I love
Axie.
The fact they've got rid of the tiers as well. I think, because I think in the current system, if you give someone like 9 Axies, they're still on that base tier.
That lower tier, yes.
Which is a bit silly, really. I think.
Yeah, so this scalable solution definitely helps a lot better. It's less punishing for those, like you said, having 8 or 9.
And the Ronin Spirit piece is great as well. I don't know if you've had a look at this yet, but what it essentially means is
the first time I'm seeing it.
You only need 1 personal Axie to start being able to earn SLP. You don't need a team of 3 now.
Oh, wow. Hold on. Okay, so Ronin Spirit determines how much SLP you can win from battles. Ronin Spirit has 4 levels, 0, 1, 2, and 3, which are all based on a number of personal Axies you have in your ranked mode team. So for 1 personal Axie, you get 1 Ronin Spirit. So if you do have 3 Axie... Oh, so hold on a minute. One personal Axie equals... Oh, okay, equals one Ronin Spirit. Okay, so if you have no personal Axies, you have no Ronin Spirit, which means you can't earn SLP. But if you've got three personal Axie, you've got 3 Ronin Spirit, which is the maximum.
Wow. That's right, yeah. And then that, I mean, having those... I guess right now the system is we have 0 or 3, right? You either earn or you don't. So by being able to have one personal Axie and then putting 2 starter Axies in the team to make up the team, you can still earn
a little bit of SLP to get started.
Exactly.
To maybe save up.
So again, it's just another slightly lower barrier for people to get in.
Wow. A quick question that's just been asked by Ochi. In case you might know this, you might not. Does adventure mode consume stamina? Because it says each ranked battle, but what about adventure?
I think we might have this on the adventure mode guide, but I'm just trying to remember it by heart.
Oh, that's okay.
I have a feeling that I think you can play adventure with your starter Axies without it consuming stamina.
Yeah, because it's kind of a different reward system right now. It's not, you're not getting SLP out of this anymore.
Yeah, correct. I knew that was going to happen, right? I was studying the site thinking I need to be ready to answer any question I've got on my content. And congratulations.
This is a good...
So whoever's asked that one, because you got me.
Well, that's fine, but this also says in foraging, make sure to check your foraging box often. Rewards like EXP and moon shards accumulate over time, even when you aren't playing. And the more total stars you've collected, the better the foraging rewards. Wow, so there's really going to be a... if you haven't collected your foraging rewards for 12 hours, no new items will be added until you collect existing ones. So they're kind of...
So you got to keep logging in.
You've got to keep logging in every 12 hours to be able to collect those. Otherwise, it'll cap out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you're min-maxing, you're logging in every 12 hours.
The more through adventure mode, the better the rewards. So, oh, wow. I mean, I'm telling you, right, in 2 days' time, that's it. The stream is on. I'm going from 100 to 0, the road to 1. That's me. I'm going to create a noob's guide to Axie Origin. We're gonna do it because if I can do it, anyone can do it. See, this is the thing I've always loved about my content is that I'm a noob. You know, I call myself an undisputed noob because I'm just an average person playing games. So if I can do it and make this work, absolutely anybody else out there can do it as well. And
you're our canary,
mate. I am. I'm down in the coal mines.
Doing an important role for us.
I feel like I've got a bit of a head start though. It feels unfair because I've got your guides. Kind of feels like I've got a bit of an unfair advantage.
Well, it's a good test case, isn't it?
There we go, right?
I
can tell you now. I'm going to read through this in depth. I mean, I've already just on this call got a much better understanding of what's happening, and I'm really grateful for that. But yeah, I'm definitely
you're welcome.
Definitely going to go through this in more detail. There's so much more I need to learn. So much more. Best. Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for this. This has been incredible.
Thank you, Steve. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
I hope that if anybody wasn't aware of your website, they now are. Axie.tech. And even if they were aware of your website, I don't think anybody was really aware of just how much you had in terms of like tools and content. So can we get a hashtag best in the comments if you're watching? Just give some love to best. And anything you want to add before we wrap up here? Is there anything you want to share or say?
I think just the last thing I would say is really that we can only be as good as the feedback that we get. So if you see anything that's wrong, if you have any ideas for a tool that we haven't built yet, please just let us know. We're not kind of too precious about anything that we do. If you think something isn't very good or it's not clear or it could be better, just tell us and we'll have a chat with you and maybe see if you've got any ideas as to how it could get better. We want this to be a two-way thing. You know, us partnering with Sky Mavis was about being more connected to the community, not being less connected. So yeah, please just keep giving us feedback and we'll keep trying our best to give you the tools that you guys need.
It's absolutely amazing. I'm so grateful, and I'll head off here with one bit of feedback for you. It would be amazing if you just put the parts of the card as text underneath the icons, just to help those people out.
I will ping Amy now and ask her to do it
on the team builder. There you go. So there you go, guys.
From Steve.
There you go. If you want to reach out to Best and the team at Axie.tech, this is what's beautiful about this space, right? It's not just like we're building these tools, you're going to use them. It's, hey, give us your feedback. We actually want your feedback so we can build these tools for you. Like, they're building them for you, for the community. So use them and help them to evolve them so they can become better over time. Best, it's an honor and a privilege, my friend. I'm really grateful that you gave us your time. I'm also very grateful that your meeting cancelled at 4. I know we've run over. But wow, what a session. I didn't expect this, and I'm very grateful for it.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Mate,
and
care,
thank you for everyone that was watching as well.
Yeah, no worries. Well, I'll make sure we share this. Get this out. Let people know. Obviously, not too many people. We don't want to give them a head start. Maybe share this like on the 8th or the 9th. Yeah, give everyone a few days
secret for now
to get a head start. And I'll be looking out for those guides on the 7th. Best and everyone else, thank you ever so much. Thanks for your time. I'll speak to you.